Good evening and welcome to Modern Spiritual. I'm Aeson Knight, and with me tonight is Elisa. She's one of our global readers based out of Japan. How are you?
Hi, Aeson. I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Good, good. Now, you didn't start out in Japan. You've kind of
No.
jumped around the map, so tell us your story.
I'm South African. I left South Africa about 20 years ago, thinking I'd only be gone for maybe 1 or 2 years. And so now I went to the UK, then I went to Japan, then I went back to the UK to study. Then I lived in Hong Kong for about 8 years, and then I moved to Japan with my husband and our kids. So I'm here now for the foreseeable future.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you liking it there?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. The city I live in it's a proper city, but it's not a metropolis, and kind of that's what I wanted. But yeah, it's mellow. Sometimes I want a bit more excitement, but yeah, I'm glad I don't have the stresses of a gigantic city.
Well, and with your public transit there, because it's so great, you could literally have non-mellow in what, 10 minutes?
That's true, and yeah, we don't have a car because we don't really need one most of the time.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have to say I'm very grateful for the trains here.
Yeah. Well, but that's a great system. So
Yeah.
how did you get into tarot?
All right. It was really a complete accident. Yeah, a little lucky serendipity. I was working actually as a kinesiologist at a center, a multidisciplinary center, and there was a visiting traveling psychic, and he was running a workshop, an introductory workshop, and I was a little interested, and they kind of needed another person to attend, so I went. And then while we were running through things, I mean, I felt like a real idiot on the first day, like everyone does.
Right.
Um, but the way he taught it was like really easy. And then as I was looking at the notes, I was thinking, this really clicks with my healing work. There are some techniques that I can use to kind of um, access all this information.
Hmm.
So, like, to be brief, I can use muscle testing to kind of get which meaning of the card is the meaning that is true in this situation.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's my secret sauce that I've just revealed.
Well, no, that's actually a good secret sauce to go into. What is
Okay.
muscle testing?
Muscle testing is a technique. I mean, a lot of people have heard of it or they've seen some demonstrations, but the way I do it, I'm basically just pressing my middle finger on my index finger, and you're using the slight changes in the muscle tension as an indicator of kind of information in the subconscious, basically, or
Right.
in the person's mind and body,
Right.
um, and their energy fields as well. So you apply this technique. This technique isn't actually healing or anything within itself. You're just using it to find what's the most pertinent information in
Right.
whatever you're looking at. So you can apply it to any kind of data set, really,
Uh-huh.
that pertains to the person's body, mind, healing, energy, you
Hmm.
know, and emotions and that kind of thing. So,
Cool.
yeah.
But because we hear readers talk about all the time they feel the power or energy when they touch a certain card or look at, for me it's visual. It's always like if I'm looking at a card and it's like all I see is the white rose, and it's like, okay, what's the symbol of the white rose? Where does it tie in at? Where does it tie in into other cards? So I can understand the muscle testing of the physicality, electro pulse there that you would feel.
Yeah. Like, it's I'd say with the muscle testing, I don't use it all the time,
Hmm.
because it's kind of funny because I don't want it to be too logical or too much of a system when I can. I mean, I love visual cards. I actually, basically, on the lines, I only use the Rider Waite, and when I see what's there, then things do pop out at me as well. And then, okay, so what I might do is like, may I show a card?
Oh, you may.
Yeah. Okay. So if I've got the Three of Pentacles, um, you know, I might say, like, is this the querent, or is this just the situation? And like sometimes I can find more detail about what's in the card,
Hmm.
even though I already, I've memorized the meanings, and I know, okay, this could be work or money related, or depending
Right.
on the
Someone's
person.
watching you, that type of thing. It
Yeah.
depends on where it links in. See, for me, it's always like the paisley that's there that they call that one, and then tying it to the next paisley I see, because it's like, because I'll do like 5 card spread and be like, okay, this one goes to this one. Okay, that's one question. This one goes to this one. That's another question. Do you do that also, or do you just go from one energy level to another energy level?
It kind of depends. It actually depends on what the client is asking, because I do some kind of spreads. Sometimes, like sometimes if the image itself doesn't tell me anything, I on the lines we're trying to do things for speed, so I'll often pick another clarifier, and then those two, when I read them together, it helps. But with the somebody trying to check a timeline of like what's going to happen and then what's going to then I build up a sequence of cards.
Right.
Yeah. As long as I'm clear about what I'm doing in my mind.
Right.
And so I'm usually like kind of talking or mumbling to myself, okay,
But that's the whole thing. You're actually probably talking to the cards, because there are people see them as just pieces of cardboard. They're actually keys to different things. Now, you've done a lot of training in energy healing. You also have done a lot of training in tarot reading. And we're actually sitting in a master's class right now.
Yeah, that's right.
How are you liking it?
I love it. I think it's just, even though, tarot is something I'm doing and intend to continue doing for a while, every now and then you want some kind of fresh ingredients or fresh perspective. And the people teaching the masterclass, some of them are, excuse me, really well known, super famous, and it's just because they've got a really deep understanding. And so kind of like having that wisdom come to you. I just left the class with a smile on my face. I was, oh, she's so cool, and I really want to try this technique, and that kind of thing. And then of course, like they've done a lot of nice topics in that they've got some beginner things, which sometimes I just like to listen to again, even if I'm like, yeah, there's always something new you pick up.
Yes, and I had a friend, and she's an astrologer, and she's, and I've studied astrology and all that, and she's like, I've been studying for 40 years, and I learn something new about astrology every day. And I'm like, that's kind of how the tarot is. No matter if it's, you could have the same deck for 20, 40 years. If you do, let me know what it is, because I'm tired of replacing mine. But sitting down and getting a different view from a different reader will give you different information, different learning styles, different communications. Symbolism that pops up in this deck doesn't pop up here, but it means the same thing. So what has been some of the classes? Because you've gotten to what I call the best of all worlds, because you've gotten some British classes. You guys also have studied some at the temples there in Hong Kong. Am I correct? Or
yeah.
Yeah. What has been your experiences with the different styles, about the views of it?
Well, I realized that firstly, I realized that there are different styles. So Hong Kong, before 2020, there were lots of traveling kind of healers and readers and psychics that would come through, and they have quite loyal followings. And so those people may be from Eastern Europe or the UK or the States and stuff. So to see people's different perspectives it is really fascinating. And then I've made a few Brazilian friends, and then I realized they have a kind of, Lenormand is huge there, and they also have very kind of I don't want to say specific beliefs, but it's just there's a very spiritual atmosphere there, and it's kind of normal for a lot of people to use it. And I would say I grew up in a country, that's kind of Christian, but not so much Catholic.
Right.
And just to see that there are differences. Like, I would love to learn more about that, to be honest, because now I've got 2 Brazilian psychic friends, and just the way they look at things is pretty cool. They have like a deeper knowledge than me, basically. That's what I'm saying. And I would love to learn more from them.
Well, that's one of my goal lists this year too, is to learn the Lenormand, because that is one of my, what I call hamstrings, because I don't know, and I can read poker cards all day, honey, tarot all day, angel cards all day. Do you do other, I know you do oracles also, don't you?
Yeah, I have a whole bunch. I mean, it's when I'm on the hotlines, I usually just use my Rider-Waite deck. I've actually got two, and then I've got let me see. I've got some other decks, and I'd probably use these or maybe the Angel card.
I love the Angel cards. That's the same deck I have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I can recognize the cases. Like, I know that case. That case lasted for like 6 months. It's so nice that you keep them in such organized fashion.
Yeah, I just my desk is a mess by the end of the day. There's like a mountain of things, but yeah, I like if there's time in a reading, or if a client specifically asks for oracle card readings, then I'll pull one out, because actually they're really nice. I think it's just typically, you know, for a lot of clients, they either have, especially because they're on an app and they may be getting other readings, they've probably seen a lot of similar cards. It's just faster for me to use regular tarot cards. And it's not an excuse, it's just they're right there. And then if I think, you know, I need to kind of ask the angels, or give another picture, or have a description in another way, then I might just grab, you know, one of these and, like, you know, joy and stability or something like that.
Right. You know, add an overall message. I like that. Yes. That's adding a little bit extra to the reading. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, the tarot isn't the best suit for something.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, you know, you need the angel cards, or, you know, I have Black Moon Astrology over here, or there's something to add in. And that's why I think that, you know, us both taking the master classes and a lot of other advisors stepping up and taking and expanding their course, well, not only their courses, but their knowledge is so important, because you can't, you know, just stay stagnant in one area.
It's true. I think, yeah, it's the kind of a thing, like if you don't exercise a muscle, it's just going to kind of atrophy and you know, but because there's so much to learn about tarot, I think that's why a lot of people really do love it once they get in it, because they just see, wow, there's so much to do. And like, you know, for some people they might find that overwhelming, but other people like, wow, I could just really like learn something new every year, or I could look at another aspect of it, or they come across like a masterclass or something and they go, and it just kind of refreshes things and expands their vision. And I mean, for me, that's really exciting, because otherwise it will get really rote, you know?
Well, it gets really rote. It gets very much like, okay, I know this combination. Yep, I've seen this one, because, you know, after, you know, I think I'm up to 50,000 readings. There's very limited repeat of the combinations. You know, it's like, yeah, he's not calling. Matter of fact, you need to stop dating in general, because you're picking bad models here. You know, what's your view on that? You know, when the client's coming in, they're like, when's he calling? What's this? And you see that repetitively. If you keep dating the same copy. How do you address that?
Oh, gosh. You know, I think sometimes the client has to be ready for the message as well. I mean, I like to be kind, but I don't want to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. I want them to see, okay, you know, you keep picking guys that are nice but unavailable, and then you don't get what you want. And then, you know, so I bring in some kind of, you know, I'll talk to them. Do you know about manifestation stuff? Or, you know, if there's repeating patterns, maybe it's something to think about, like what you might like instead, or that kind of thing. There's not always enough time to do that, but with regular clients, you know, that door opens up a little bit more.
Right.
And, you know, I think it's only if they're really upset in that moment that they won't be receptive to it, because, you know, ultimately they do want love. They do want you know, a soul connection and things like that. So they're usually more open to hearing that kind of advice of, like, how can you avoid this pattern repeating again, or how can you do things differently?
Right. And I think that's highly important to bring up. All right, guys, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of your time in South Africa and the UK. Shall we?
I found out that my husband had been cheating on me, and my whole world turned upside down.
I stressed over any and everything, constantly waiting for the next shoe to drop.
I was attracted to a psychic advisor to get clarity
I was like, there's no way that's real. But the things that were coming up felt so accurate.
I really need that unbiased, non-judgmental advice. If there's some part of your life that is not quite fitting in, you maybe want to try something that you haven't tried before.
Try psychic reading on your phone. Your first 3 minutes are free. First, choose a topic or method. Second, choose a psychic. Third, start a call or chat. The first 3 minutes are on us. Install Zodiac Psychics now. Talk to a gifted and trusted psychic advisor.
All right, welcome back. So, growing up in South Africa, how was it? Like spirituality-wise, what's the differences there?
Just with the colonial history, it was more Protestants than anything else. But I grew up during apartheid, so they really, like I have to say, it's one of the saddest things. There was so little integration that despite the rich, traditional, the indigenous cultures and their spirituality practices and things like that. I know so little about it, but it's also, I think, because I left 20 years ago, I think I would have been able, if I'd stayed there, I would have been able to get more kind of exposure to it and find out more. So it's unfortunately a little bit of lost knowledge to me, but in terms of the people, I actually did go to a Catholic primary school.
Really?
So actually at that time, religious schools were allowed to be multiracial. So actually that's why I went to a Catholic school for a few years, and not my entire schooling. But yeah. So I have to say, just connecting it to the tarot, it's just so that I don't really consider myself a Christian, but I just understand I grew up in that environment, so the imagery is familiar to me. And so I don't get offended by the imagery on the Rider-Waite. I know some people, they're like, oh, I just don't like it. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not explaining this very well.
You're doing very well with it. It's like some people can get over what I call the God complex or God recovery system. Others get really stuck with it's the devil. Yeah, that's the devil. It's also, on some decks a very, understanding the multi-levels of symbolism in that card is beyond compare than the simple, oh, an evil dude is affecting you. It's like, no, there's some human nature there that's needing to apply. Yeah, there's some, intrinsic bondage going on there that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because if I'm doing a recorded video, I always kind of warn people, don't be scared by this card. It's the devil, but this is what it means. Or, devil and death, usually that, and sometimes Ten of Swords.
Well, see, here's my thoughts on the devil and death. Okay, the devil, I don't remember. I think it is my Gilded. I like Gilded's devil better than the Rider-Waite devil, because it more expresses it. For me, it's got that Christian symbolism there, but it isn't the horned, running around goofy guy. It's more the lustful, passionate, leather-clad dude getting ready to take off. As he's hiding from me, I see.
I'm curious to see that image.
But, and then you've got Death card. Here he is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a lot more symbolistical, play on things there of, lust and passion and fire and everything that, if you understand the history of the tarot, well, that was all trying to be reined in, strained in during the Victorian era, because the tarot's going on over 100 years old. So Definitely I could have that. Now the death card, I see that as like, when England threw out the Pope, and different spots in history where there's been a lot of challenges to the churches and to spirituality, and it really talks about, in my opinion, a regrowth, a redirection, taking upon your own power there, type of view. What about you?
Um, yeah, I mean, I often say, you've got to, yeah, it's about moving on. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Moving on.
Yeah.
And is something blocking that, or, the way it is now, cannot continue. It's not sustainable, or something needs to change. And, sometimes I get this as a yes answer, like,
Right.
so I have to just really kind of look at it in context of things. But people, I think it's just the kind of what do you call it, conventional wisdom in popular culture, like, oh, it's scary, oh, death is coming, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not really, it's really not that. So
Well, and death comes every morning.
yes.
Normally before coffee, death arrives to give you a new opportunity. So I don't know. I think we as tarot readers need to go in there and do a little bit more better PR on both of those.
Yeah.
Because if you pull up the Lovers card and then the Devil card and then the Two of Cups card, it's like, well, this is going to be a fun relationship. You're going to have to use up all your PTO time on him. Looking at that type of thing. What do you think about the updating of meanings?
I think it's worth doing, although I have to say I don't want to, when I'm looking at cards, I don't want to get every single meaning like in my sort of little keyword list or in my mind. Like I know I need to know the basic meanings, and then it's nice to have like alternative views or another perspective. So it's funny you mentioned the Lovers, because a lot of people think that's always good, and I said no, you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice. That's what it's about, a choice in a relationship. And that's what the card means to me. But obviously, if they're saying, am I gonna meet up with this guy this weekend? Then I'll go, well, yeah.
Yeah. But you see, what's missing from that is the original had a third woman. I mean, a third.
Oh, really?
Person. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. The original from her has the angel and a man and two women.
Okay.
And it showed much more symbolism. They dropped the third woman sometime in the mid-70s.
Oh, I'm gonna go try and find an old image of that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is about choices and partnerships and negotiational things, because everyone sees that as the Garden of Eden and being kicked out of Eden. No, that angel's going like, who you taking home here, Adam? Are you taking Lilith or are you taking Eve? I mean, we're not even at the point of being kicked out of the garden.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so with updated meanings, like sometimes it's helpful, but yeah, I think for me, I know the way my brain works is if there's too much to choose from, I get overwhelmed, and but that's why I think when I'm focusing on on the reading, on the querent or the question, like what's going on, and then the cards do speak to me, or they have their own language, and like I said, if I feel like, oh, this is unclear on its own, I'll just pull another card, and then that just kind of puts it into the right context. Too much is too much for me, I'd say. But like in time, I don't mind that meanings change, because I think that's sort of how even languages develop,
Well, they do, but I also think, like, I don't know, some of these lovely little guideposts that come along, a letter is coming. Well, that's cute. Is that going to be by text message, by carrier pigeon, by Twitter DM? Where's this letter coming from, tarot?
Yeah.
So I think that there has to be some updated meanings. I think that, words like pride has changed its meaning over the past 10, 15 years.
True. It's true.
I've got a vintage deck that talks about the glee and gayness of the Six of Cups. And it's like, that's not what that card means at all in today's languages.
Yeah.
So it's different. How have you seen it expressed differently in the different cultures you've been in?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I really have. I mean, when I compare my original notes
Mm-hmm.
to the stuff that I've been studying more recently, like I actually almost never read like, I think Lovers is supposed to be Gemini, is that right? June or
Yeah,
Gemini?
the twins. Yeah, I
Yeah,
never
I
see
mean,
them.
because it's a 6, and I don't use that at all. Like
Uh-uh.
it's not like, I know it's true for some people some of the time, but it's almost never useful in the reading that I'm doing. Although I always like, okay, your person, what zodiac sign is your person of interest, and then like sometimes it correlates, but it's never an important part for me.
Right,
I would say I probably don't have a lot of details to compare. This meant this there, and that meant that there, because basically I'm just kind of sticking it in my head and then like making
right,
that kind of stew, and making that make sense to me. So I think that's kind of cool too about readings, is because everyone reads
right,
differently, and I also like getting readings as a client,
right.
um, and I read for some uh, other reader friends of mine, and they said, "Oh, your style's really different. Oh, I really like it. It's interesting that you said that about that card." So we kind of read and exchange for each other, even when they're like, "Hey, I'm just really stressed. Can you pull some cards for me?" Um, yeah, and they, when we're doing a proper reading between friends, but then
Mhm.
at the same time, it becomes learning for us as well.
Right, and that's because you get to see the different styles and the different connections and the different cultural influences.
Yeah.
It's like here in the U.S., I can tell if someone that has learned how to read in New England
Oh, really?
versus Florida
Wow.
versus West Coast versus East Coast, just by how they do their readings.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, New Englanders are very much British style, so they'll start throwing cards. Like
Okay.
they won't, they don't want to know your question. They want to tell you what's
Oh,
going on.
really? Okay.
Yeah, um, it's just like it's over here. It's where it's at. That type of thing. Then Florida readers are very much into their spreads. Like that, you will see them lay out a beautiful tablecloth, and they'll have a cloth with the cards go exactly here. But they want your questions. They want a conversation.
Uh-huh.
East Coasters read very much more direct. Like, no, he's a piece of shit. West Coasters are like, well, these are the problems that you're going to have to address with him, and leave it more to the client to figure out. Yeah, he's a piece of shit. Um, Same reading. I mean, and it's that fun for me being able to sit back and watch the reading styles pop out. What about you? Because I'm sure you've learned Brit. Like, is that where you took your first class at? Was
Well,
Brit?
the teacher was British, but he's kind of interesting.
Okay.
So when he does a reading for a client, he draws the cards, like he puts out a huge spread. I don't think it's all the cards, but it's a lot. It's over 20, and then he kind of almost stream of consciousness. He'll say a whole lot of things, so people like, he audio records it, and then he doesn't like to be interrupted at all in that
Mhm.
time. And then at the end, he's like, "Okay, do you have questions?" And then he'll look at the cards. Um,
Right.
so I mean, that is very unique to him, I'd say.
Yeah, that's very unique to a British reader.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
they don't tell me anything. Just shuffle the cards, set it into 3 piles, and put them back together for me. And
Yeah.
then they like to fire. But that's that influence of that spiritualism training that has occurred over there.
Yeah, I'd say then maybe my approach isn't so traditional, just because I already had an idea of like, okay, I see this and this and this is possible with tarot, but this is how my mind works, and I think it could be used in this and this way. And then, so obviously, it's not like I'm completely unique and the only person, who can read cards in this way. But like the way I like to do it is I like to know my client's question. I
Hmm.
need to know a little bit of background. I don't call myself psychic, but
Right.
like, because for me, maybe this card, like if you're talking about a schedule, or if you're talking about money, or you're talking about a job, or your like work-life balance, or even like this card came up a lot for me in a someone who was in an open relationship, and the person, she just felt that the partner was choosing the other person more easily, like that kind of thing. So if I didn't know that, I wouldn't know what to say about that card. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's how I read. And then I sometimes use small spreads, just like useful things, like what is he thinking? What is he feeling? What is his likely next action? Or like, what's your best next step? That's the one I like to ask every single time for every client. What is my client's best next step?
Right.
But I don't really do big spreads in on the hotline. I do kind of small parts, or I if I can see they've got a lot of questions and I can see the overall theme, okay, they're just kind of wondering how secure this connection is, or they want to know what the best thing to do is with their career, and then I'll pull I'll ask a question and pull a card or more for each question. Then I just double check, like, am I answering all your questions? And then they can guide me, and I just say, just jump in with another question if you have one, like at any point, especially in a live reading. Obviously, they might have new things pop into their mind, and while the clock's ticking, I'd rather have them get their questions answered.
Right. Very much so. Awesome. All right. Well, let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about, the platforms and where you work at. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Try psychic reading on your phone. Your first 3 minutes are free. First, choose a topic or method. Second, choose a psychic. Third, start a call or chat. The first 3 minutes are on us. Install Zodiac Psychics now. Talk to a gifted and trusted psychic advisor.
For so long, everything was difficult because I was allowing it to be and almost finding more comfort in that chaos.
My psychic advisor really helped me stop and take a breath and look within and be okay with what was happening right now.
Having that 24/7 access is amazing. Just a quick moment to get some clarity.
We are here on a journey, and we can't always control it. All we can do is be along for the ride.
All right. Welcome back. So where are you working at? Which platforms are you on?
I'm on Purple Ocean and Purple Garden, and those are the only ones right now. So
Awesome.
I just focus on those.
Right. And what's the difference?
Okay, Purple Ocean, that is for recorded videos. So people, they write in or they send a video question in, and they depending on what type they choose. There's two types. You can get an answer within 24 hours, which is one price, or an answer within 1 hour, which is a higher price. And of course, they have sales as well. And then the reading is delivered as a 3-minute recorded video, so they can play it again and again. I mean, it's going to stay in their list of orders. So the way, I mean, I like to kind of show the cards and explain them while I'm doing the reading. Some people don't really care, but that's what I do. Then Purple Garden is for live readings, and that would be live chat, so instant messaging, or voice call, or video call, and that's all through the app, and then that is charged at a per minute rate.
Okay, cool. So you have two different options. Well, technically three. It depends on how fast you want them.
Yeah.
What do you like with your your pre-recorded video readings?
What do I like about
the
them?
client? Like, what do you like having certain? What do you like having served to you for that solo reading?
Okay, all right. So, yeah, I think I mentioned earlier that I like to have ideally a specific question, and then I need a little bit of background information from the client, because that, especially when it's not live, I need something to kind of connect to the information. But obviously, the majority of questions are going to be about romantic relationships. Sometimes it's about non-romantic relationships, like people at work or family connections and things like that. And then maybe the next most popular one is questions about career, of like, I've applied for a job, am I going to get an interview, or like which company would be better to work for, or like how can I do better at my job. So questions like that. And then when I know what they want, then I can interpret the cards very easily, and I'll say, look, this seems to be the blah blah blah.
Right. And one of the phrases I like is, if you ask the big questions, the tarot will give you a vague answer.
Yes. Yeah, it's like I think in IT they say GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. I try to make that really clear, but yeah, I can do better. I can give a better quality answer with a better quality question. So
and which company should I go work for? Well, there's 3.2 billion in this world. Which three are we looking at?
That's the thing. So like, if I say, if you can't tell me, then you just need to say like A, B, or C, or like A is an IT company, B is a bank, or that kind of thing, and then that's enough for me to go on, because ultimately I'm connecting to my client's energy. That's what the cards are picking up on. So yeah. Thanks for saying that.
Not a problem, honey. And what about when they're wanting to know about the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the partner? Do you need the name and birth date of the partner? Do you just need to know their nickname? Where are you at on that one?
A nickname is fine. Like it. If they have more, they can give more. Like, it's just, I know that some clients do see multiple readers, and they're probably more accustomed. Okay, that person might even need a photo, so they upload a photo into their profile picture. Oh, that's him in the picture. In case you need to connect that. So I need something. It doesn't have to be everything. If the person hasn't ever spoken to their person of interest, I think that makes it a little tougher. I do get that sometimes, like, is he the one for me? Well, I don't know. You kind of need to go talk to him first.
Right. Well, for me, there's no phone line to them. Because like the cards are reading the client, and then they're reading the next. It's like playing phone tag. So they're going to tap into his energy through the client's energy. If you've never made that connection, like not even to say hello, the tarot goes, "Where's the Wi-Fi, dude? There's no Wi-Fi here."
That's exactly how I feel. And I it's not that I need to be right. It's like, if I get the answer, I'll tell you, but I make it clear, like, I don't know how well this part of the connection is, because I'm connecting to you and then to another person. I'm going to keep this anonymous. I had a reading like that the other day, and this person said, well, is that person my soulmate, or like, are we destined to be together? And I said, look, destiny is one hand on the steering wheel, the other hand is yours. Fortune favors the brave. Like, all the cards here are saying you need to take action. You need to take action. So they said, well, okay, so does that mean it's not meant to be? I said, the only way this can move forward is if somebody takes that step, and like, there's a really strong hint here, is just try and say hello, and then like that can get the ball rolling. And they were very receptive to that. But I think obviously we could talk also all day about some toxic beliefs that come to us.
Well, let's talk about some toxic beliefs about tarot.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
There is no soulmate card in the deck.
Yeah.
Okay. Soulmates is just like saying that they were in second grade with you. And third, and primary, and fourth. That's it. Like, you've got to make that relationship your own.
Yeah. I on a practical level, we're kind of 8 billion people on the planet. Most people have had more than one relationship, in their lifetimes,
Yeah.
And like there's people who come in at the right time, or they're only there for a short time, or it's not that when you find the right one you'll never have arguments, you'll never have difficulties, or they won't have irritating habits.
It's guaranteed they're going to drive you up the wall.
Exactly.
And that's where boundaries and negotiation and no, do not put wet towels in my hamper or I will kill you today, because in 20 years I'm going to hang you with the towel, is important at those early stages of the relationship.
Yeah.
But no, I think our industry has put a lot of hanging on that. What about, those looking to learn tarot? Oh, you can't buy your tarot.
Oh no, I think, well, I just honestly, US Games or any other publisher, sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but they make.
We don't publish tarot, honey. US Games is a lovely company.
Well, no. What I'm trying to say is they mass produce these things. There's such a huge interest in tarot. You cannot wait for somebody else to give you one as a present. At the end of the day, if all you collect them for is the artwork, well, that's fine. It really doesn't matter, and you can make it your own. I mean, I just find that is such an unhelpful belief, but I hear it repeated often.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, will we stop the gatekeeping now? It is past 1950 where they are only producing 200 decks, and with the rage of the internet, heck, you guys could have a skyscraper and a tarot reader in every apartment. Guess what? Your clients will still be there. What other toxic stuff have you heard?
Okay, so I think sometimes it's the limits about what the cards can and can't do, and I think it's sometimes kind of mixed in with what the person's own skills and gifts are. So if someone comes to me for a general reading, I still say, look, I'm not what I would call a psychic. I can read on some things, but if there's an area of interest that you have, like whether it's career or spirituality, tell me, because then I can give more useful information. So I think it's just knowing about what the cards can and can't do. Right. There was a client once who said, okay, this is just as a joke, but what color is my underwear? Because I just want to, he had time left and he's like, I just want to test. And we laughed because he understood what it was. He wasn't trying to do it from a mean point of view. But I think people just need to know what the limits are. And also, just because it's in the cards doesn't mean that's your only option.
Right, because the cards are nothing but Google Maps.
Yes.
Okay, so the cards are going to say, this is what's going to happen if you continue this behavior. If you keep driving down this road, you're going to hit this traffic accident.
Yeah.
Or, let's look at how we switch this up. Okay, so you're going to stop being the Queen of Swords and making harsh, fast decisions and show your underbelly there and allow yourself to be more emotionally connected to the situation. If you want that responses to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So, and so it's what the cards do, what people believe, what they think we can say, and then the understanding of well, if it's in the cards, this is going to happen. And I do feel like people are just taking their hands off the steering wheel, and that's right. Not how it's supposed to be.
It's not how it's supposed to be. No, we are in control. We planned this trip, but we can do what we want with it. Let's take a break and talk about your limits, okay? And my limits too, shall we?
Live tarot and psychic readings. Get 3 free minutes on your first session. Find answers and peace of mind anywhere, anytime. Install Zodiac Psychic now and find your spiritual advisor.
everything was difficult because I was allowing it to be and almost finding more comfort in that chaos.
My psychic advisor really helped me stop and take a breath and look within and be okay with what was happening right now.
Having that 24/7 access is amazing. Just a quick moment to get some clarity.
We are here on a journey and we can't always control it. All we can do is be along for the ride.
All right, so let's talk about the things that cards and the government will not let us talk about.
Okay, so that would be medical things, like especially, because we don't diagnose, right? We don't treat.
We have no prescription pads. The tarot doesn't come with one.
No. And okay, legal related issues, or like if someone says what's going to be the outcome of this, case, that kind of thing. No. There are other ethical considerations, and then of course like financial things. Like we are not financial advisors.
We don't say buy this stock, buy that stock. Not our deal.
No.
But what about your ethical ones? Because I have a lot of ethical ones that I will go, nope, I don't touch that. I've not been promoted to being a demigod yet.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to die? Not my department.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to think of some examples. I think we have to exercise our judgment as well, because it's not always clear what the backstory is. But so with some types of spying on other people, some of the questions, really, you can't get away from the fact that it's a third party reading. Like, what does he think of me? But I think when people really have an intense interest in another person or what they're doing, that kind of creeps into that territory.
But also with that, and from my viewpoint, what's he thinking about me is not third party.
I don't.
Girlfriend thinking about him being at my house, that's third party, and it's like, Kim.
Yeah.
That's where I'll go. You don't need to know about that. You need to know about him doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I fully agree. I'd say it's just there's a few situations where we might want to give out a hotline number, or a crisis line, or something like that, or like, if I read on this, if I'm wrong, this could mess you up more. So I think it's better that we don't. And sometimes we have to exercise our discretion, because the simple terms of use can't cover every single example.
Right.
But that's basically it.
Now, we talked about Purple Ocean. Purple Garden is text, video, live video.
Live video, live text, chat, and live voice calls, and that's all through the app. So it's through
the app. So you don't have a lot of problems with your connecting with your international clients, because I figure you've got a ton of international clients.
Yeah.
It's
actually one of the things I like a lot, and I know I'm not the only one, because some of the advisors, we had a little chat on the forum, and they're like, oh, I just love meeting people from all different cultures, even though we're not same room.
Exactly. It's really cool. Now, tell them your time zone and when you're normally on for the call set.
Oh gosh, okay, so I live in Japan, so that is the universal time zone, or GMT +9. So I tend to catch the USA's evening.
Okay.
Time when I'm on. My advisor name is Alicia Tarot, or Alicia Tarot. I don't mind how you say it. And I read tarot cards. That's what I do. And I'm on. Okay, I'm trying to think about US times, because most of the clients are from there. That would be Sunday, Monday. And then I'd say probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
US evenings.
Evenings.
Yeah,
cool.
If I'm on, I'm on. I keep my 24-hour video, recorded video orders for Purple Ocean. I keep that on all the time.
Right. We can get you anytime there.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Well, thank you, honey, for sitting down, having a little bit of coffee, talking about some modern spiritualism. And you come back, okay?
All right, Aeson. Have a great evening. It was
You
so
too.
great.
Bye, darling.
Bye.